Okay, so now we are here.
Yeah.
Finally, we put a lot of efforts to set up everything and take our time also. And actually, before coming here, we like privately talked a lot about our ideas already, right?
About my project, yeah.
Yeah. So you already shared a lot of things for me, but now we are here as a podcast, and yeah, I'm so excited to hear about you from your project.
Yeah, just now I want to talk about technical aspects because your architecture from Japan. I have been fantastically fascinated by the Japanese skill working with wood and in engineering in general. And now I take a unique opportunity to talk about my project. It's really different view uh, and my crazy ideas that I thought in Ukraine early have many accurate and new meaning and different way. And I want to share my truths. For example, I'm not architecture. I am not professional builders. I my background is different side, but when I have a born idea about this project, and its old house needed renovative. Half of destroyed this old house, my grandfather. Then I really needed keeping this story and these buildings. It's like physical moments and keeping this story for my in heritage in my past for my grandfather. And when I started renovative and started learning, one time I should fix it roof.
Yes.
And opening
Yeah.
opening house. I mean opening roof, and I saw a lot techniques for past unknown for me, and this time and it's really I should find new information for me about how it's building in the past.
Yeah.
I should find solution about how it's fixed this roof, but not remaking some totally new, but should finding for past how it's fixed, how it's connected and other materials. And I try finding employers.
Yeah, that's really first. It's really impressive that you dived into the architecture field or building field from photography and printing, and so super different background. And when you dive into the when you found that okay, you have to or you want to renovate the house from your grandfather, how was the actual feeling for you, like when you touched the house, when you saw the problems?
Well, I really remember this time
Yeah.
when I coming. I sometimes I come back to this place, but from childhood. But when I coming and I am ready, renovative, and I look on this buildings. This building it's really old. It's more than 120 years. Yeah, and you know, it's like all details on this house. It's super old, and it's half destroyed, totally destroyed. Oh, it's not some things like window or door or roof or wall. It's like, oh, it's this is good. It's all. It's needed something fixed.
Actually, it's also, I think it's really important question because, like for example, in Japan, my home country, I also learned to demolish buildings is actually really, really difficult tasks because if it's like destroyed already, if it's damaged already, then it's super hard to just demolish everything. So like as like a taking apart, like piece by piece, because it's just time consuming and nobody can do that. They try to do it, but they ended up to just demolish by the machines. And I mean, I really respect them, but still it's really hard. And then, as you said, if you see, like, seriously, you saw so many different types of difficulties, and then you cannot, like, if it's the professional or the builders as the business maybe for them to live, then they cannot to achieve to all of the problems in different way all the time, right? So yeah, it's really big question.
Yeah, first time I shouldn't making good estimating for this buildings, this product, and but I haven't skill and I find it and hiring some employers at builders and architecture, some asked and you know in local employers who I try and hiring. It's not common solution for innovative old house, and local employers not have skill for innovative and for skill for the past technology, because this is technology for 100 years ago. It's on the past. Just now it's only using new solution. It's cheap. It's really easy making new roof, for example. New tool, new material, but then I show my task for innovative. It's I not find a good solution with like employers who really need fixes it, and I should finding more and analyze what is technology. And when I opening, I look on like it's super simple looks. It's super different than modern technology of buildings. It's not have a lot layers and not materials.
Yeah.
And it's super simple, but it's really working a lot time.
Yeah, actually, I think, yeah, it's kind of makes sense that the traditional construction looks simple because it somehow makes sense for for example, if it's wooden structure, then the traditional traditional construction is designed for wood, not for human. It's for wood, and they really took care of the property and the characters of the wood in super detail. So I mean, it looks simple, but it's really polished design already.
Well, it's not simple in Japanese carpenters.
Yeah.
It's like etalon for working with wood. And when I find a solution, I look some tutorials, and it's really fantastic, very accurate connection with Tupai's wood, and it's really need long-term experience working with this.
Yes, yes. So, I mean, the simpleness in traditional buildings is sophisticated design, but it's not just easy design. Because I was working with, or actually I had a chance to work with Japanese traditional wooden carpenters before back in Japan, and still now I sometimes have a chance to communicate with them and draw some drawings or think about drawings or the detailed designings together. And they are amazing. Yeah, they really know, for example, character of each wood, and which there are plenty of types of joint part, and but actually you can also cut it, you can also cave it by your hands, and the ancient carpenters did it by themselves. But the thing is, you have to learn it more than like 20 years, then you can be a specialist. So it's not easy. You cannot say like, okay, I'm a special carpenters with 5 years experience. So that's the reason it's really difficult, but also super beautiful.
Yeah, but new solution, new tools, it's make more faster, more easy, and it's like making shorter term forget skills. My buildings needed new functionality, a new sense of buildings, and it's not like only fixed problem, it's changed sense of buildings. It's a lot job, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe in Japan it's a common.
To renovate
Yeah.
the house, yes, it is really common, and or I would say sadly there are a lot of houses which have no it doesn't have an owner. I mean, like in 2023 I think it was like 30% of the houses in old Japan was
30%?
13%.
13, wow.
So
But it's huge.
13% is, yeah, I mean, it's more than one house, 10 houses. It's a lot. And also in Tokyo, actually, 11% of houses are empty house. That's
Crazy.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, in Ukraine have like a little bit same situation because a lot old buildings stay on empty, and in rural area it's stay without new people. It's only old, and a lot buildings stay alone.
Yeah.
But in Ukraine it's not have like traditional for keeping old buildings, making trying saving renovative. it's in general it's destroyed.
So you,
And
it's not really common to renovate the buildings in
Yeah,
Ukraine.
yes, yeah. And you know, like I don't. We really not have a lot old buildings because it's like history. Every 100 years, it's resetting, uh, like all generation, you know, and it's
Okay.
problem because not have root.
That's huge difference, and that's
And it's
That's
not make
really
sense keeping because not like family not make sense renovative old house. In social media I see it's advertising or only like image from Japan about you can rent or buy old big house in Japan, and I really needed to move and buy. It's look
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, sometimes it's really, really cheap, and but I think it's common case that the owner left that home, and did you see some furnitures in the house as well, left behind?
Yeah, I see.
Okay. I mean, if there are a lot of stuffs in the house, in the old house, which means that house lost the owner, and then nobody can take care of any stuffs, like nobody can clean even, and then it's just there, but somebody needs to maintenance, so it could be an advertisement.
Because it's like movie, you know, it's like living inside in the house, and all the days is like freezing time in this house. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot old buildings stay in Europe. It's the same situation, and couple times when I traveling for mountains in Bavaria, in Germany, I finding some the same techniques from
With Ukraine?
my village.
Oh.
Yeah, because a lot masters from Germany uh, traveling for all Europe and sharing technologies, and it's really matching like these technologies in mountains. I
Yes.
see like old bridge
Yes.
roofs, and I just now I have attention about details how it's building, what is angle roofs, and I analyze it, what makes sense, why it's positions buildings on mountains. Yeah, and
Yeah, that's so true. Like, I also really like hiking, so whenever I go to hiking on Alpes, there are a lot of like the hiking house, mountain house, the tiny house, and if you see the detail for the roofing, for example, it's super interesting. Like, they sometimes use only one single layer. I mean, and it's all made out of wood, which is crazy for me because, yeah, of course there are like the all wooden roofing skills in Japan as well, but we normally make a lot of layers to avoid water from the rain. And here in Bavaria we also have a lot of snows, right? But so I'm just wondering, like, why it was why they decided to make everything with wood, or why maybe just because the wood was easy to access as a material for
I guess I am
German
lucky because you're
region.
traveling and have attention for different buildings
Mm.
of location, and every location is different
Yes.
for weather, for ground,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
its impact for solution buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And every details make sense
Yeah.
for long term using old technologies.
Mm-hmm. That's why I think traditional skills are always really beautiful in a way, and really efficient as well, but also really skillful. And yeah, it's a pile of experience.
Well, you choose like you have when you're learning architecture,
Mm-hmm.
you have a lot part of attention for traditional techniques of buildings.
Mm.
Yeah, mm, it's your way for on the next.
I think I'm not sure which direction I can actually work in this like next 5 years, but I really believe that to learn the detail and history and lifestyle and the bioregion at the same time as a network is really helpful to understand, I mean, not only architecture, but the story behind the architecture, and I really love it, and I think we need to learn it as architects. But yeah, I really love to see not only the modern architectures, but the buildings, the cities, which is really connected to the culture and history, because it's called it's vernacular architecture. I think it's
Molecular.
vernacular architecture.
What do you mean?
Vernacular is like a native architecture, let's say. So, which means that architecture, or it doesn't need to be only architecture, but in terms of the architecture, the buildings which have a strong relationship with the bioregion, the people, the history, and the shape of building itself is designed because of the history and nature and the materials they had, like surrounding the town.
By the way, we should move to the next stage. I mean, in the future, we use new materials, new technologies, because we have new functionality of buildings. I mean, living offices and like casual life is changed than in past. Yeah, uh, it's really interesting your way, and you choose like type of architecture. I guess it's we not can comparing
Yes.
new and it's new and traditional. It's a part of industry, and it's perfect. And I guess just now have a new wave for can come back to past for traditional technologies and using new opportunities, new tools, new accurate calculation, estimate, and it's make more really good quality materials, good quality buildings, and long term using that, not like only for amateurs, like for escaping like system. It's really a commercial solution, right?
That's true. I mean, the university or the research I'm working on right now is more close to the bio-based material, and we are trying to be close to the materials, but also we do calculate, we do use 3D model. Of course, I was working on the 3D printer modeling projects, like as the last project. Also, we do test after making some products. So
it's like laboratory, technical laboratory, who use it every materials what it's using in buildings.
yeah, I think if we could handle the technology carefully, and then it help us to take a balance between vernacular architecture and the current society. I mean, like for example, the material development. As a researcher, you will learn about the history of the material and what is the region, what is the history of this plant, this material, and what is the topology, what is the maybe you could also access to the historical lifestyle of the people. But at the same time, you have to really measure everything like properly, because it's also really important to share the recipe, the accurate recipe in terms of the research. And it's kind of bit the balance of technology and all new informations and the more close to the field. So I think it's always connected.
Thank you for opening this topic, because in social media I have a lot new project like bio, like traditional way, but in general it's only cover, like traditional, but it's using modern technology. It's like only marketing, like it's marketing plan for like it's the side traditional buildings, but it's not like deeply like science discover this topic and finding new solution really deeply. And your case, it's really good advice and really good examples what is used traditional technology with new time.
I think, but in my opinion, for example, your art residence is also really interesting for me in the same way, because like you are trying to renovate the old building which made by your grandfather, and then you see the traditional structures, but you're sharing those ideas as documentation through YouTube, through website, through the social media, right? So yeah, I will also like to listen from your side, like how do you feel about the mix of stay in the field, feel the history from the heritage, the artifact, and then try to make it in a modern.
Yeah. This project have a lot sites,
Yeah.
and it's like spider for another site moves, and I spent a lot of time with this project and finding um, way how it grows this project, and I trying making eco products from this it's ecology spot, like it's around national park and a lot forest. It's really safety natural, and it's really good quality fruits and berries, and I'm making
That's
some.
lovely.
Oh well, you can try.
Oh
Look,
yes.
yeah, it's for my garden. Yeah, you can.
Can I have it?
Yeah, it's pastella. It's
Thank you so much.
it's all. It's like modern format from saving like fruits and berries. And before it's making jam. I'm making the jam. This.
Oh, this is from you as well?
Yeah.
Oh.
This jam, it's like super special because it's limit value, because this is jam. It's for last event. In my residence, I making events with artistic, with community
Cool.
for art, and we together buildings event for it's like rest of natural, and to add something artistic, exhibition, music event.
How did you use this jam for the like artists
Yeah,
events?
yeah. It's looks like strange, but what is matching with artistic and jam, but this making jam in event.
So it's like a workshop.
Um, mm,
Or you.
no, I guess it's like it's main topic of event, but event is like traditional event, like eating, dancing, playing music, but to it's some special is making outdoor jam for
Wait, it's
really.
made on outside?
Yeah. It's very old, traditional way for making jam. In my local, my grandmother making the same jam, and in childhood I keeping this recipe, like sharing this jam for visitors, for my residents, for my event. And it's really good memory and with this jam, and as for me it's really something special dish, and I want you to try.
Thank you so much. Let me try pastilla
okay.
first. Like, how do you eat this?
It's like
Like,
yeah
really? Like
yeah,
this?
or slice or taking.
Like this. You can take it apart.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's only with eco materials. I mean, it's only with juice, with juice, berries, and fruits, without something conservating. And second part, I finding like sharing place, because in Ukraine have last time not good time, and
Yes.
a lot itadakimasu. A lot person
Wow.
needed new shelters. I mean, escaping with own home because destroyed east Ukraine and coming close to west. And in last time, my residents using like shelters, like temporary place for recovering, for living and understanding what's it's building new plan. A lot like I every time in during in time in during in war I sharing for this place like open gate and everyone who need it can send me a message and something describing own situation and it's yourself and if I see some magic because it's like it's special place for me and I really want find new people, a new team and person who have new idea because just now I'm in Germany.
Yeah. So like for example, organizing some workshops or making pastela and jam. It's everything is when you are in there, right?
Yeah. And it's just my ideas. Yeah, I'm organization events like for my idea. It's connection with natural, with location, and it's like event for people. Generally, it's from big city, but coming to rural place, and it's like explaining how it's we can rest on the with nature. And it's my idea, yeah. But
It's
now,
so nice.
yeah, thank you. But now it's rules. It's changed. I am here. It's a little bit big distance with residents, and my plan on future. Not stop it, not that, not sleeping. Just now, this resident it's working its different way, but I guess I find new team, new people who continue this project, sharing own idea, and I really respect for idea for this place and really ready help for started and growth idea.
So remember, I also remember that, like you told me that before, the art residence, is not for you, right? You designed it for the people who need it, who need the connection with nature, or to just maybe people who need it, but you try to open the history, and then, I mean, it's definitely the unfortunate things that everything happened for you, but it's also like you came here and then now you are in Munich, and I feel like it's kind of like it could also taken as the next stage for your residence, like.
Yeah, thank you for come back to this topic. It's really true. When I started this project, on the start, I really clean understanding that it's not my own house. Like a lot the same projects making like people remote to village and living there. I'm not realized that my house and my future in this place. No, it's my purpose. It's like keeping story and finding new life for this place. And this place like guest house, but it's place for practice of art. It's untraditional learning and helpful people. And I don't know, it's happened and I planning because
Yeah.
it's for people, right?
Yeah.
And just now people needed this place.
It's really, really cool idea again, this project itself. And as you said before, right now, you started this project on site, and then now you're here. And how, if you could, how do you imagine like the usages of the, or like how could be the next
stage
or next usage, or what kind of people do you want to achieve, and what kind of people do you want to open this house for?
Yeah. Just now it's opening people who needed shadows. But it's a lot people. It's really, and I should filter it. Yeah, and it's my. I needed people who really love this place and feeling comfortable in this place, and can evolution this project needed like new idea, new people who really like make it. I really believe that I find people who match it with me.
I don't
Idea, like philosophy, and it doesn't matter who is, where is living.
like who. I mean, about philosophy and way of thinking, I'm sure that you will find it. The thing is, I'm not sure if that person can can work as you wish. Like for example, I really like your project, but if you want someone who can stay in Ukraine, then I cannot be there, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the only thing. I mean, yeah. Do you want someone who can stay there?
Like just now, like temporary, yes, but it's like only guest. It's not like
Maybe like that would be the
organizer.
best scenario.
It's not like
Best scenario is like, for example, that would be better with Ukrainian people, I guess.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, some Ukrainian artists
Yeah.
who wants to escape to village
Yeah.
for a lot of reason, and if they like someone wants to do something but don't have opportunity place, and if he or she has a really good match with the way of your thinking, then
Yeah. Totally.
maybe
It's good imagination.
yeah.
Like vision. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if I were an artist, Ukrainian artist, and if I couldn't go to university, if I couldn't keep working for art because there are a lot of bumps, there is no paintings, there is no job opportunity, then I will be like, yeah, okay, I want to do whatever whatever amazing. If there is a place, I would love to go there, right? You need to be really sensitive for the chemical of the relationship or the feeling between people. It's not only the skills or background they have, but also their feelings and your feelings. You also need to be sensitive about a lot of things, and I think it's really hard to stay there, but
this project, it's totally experimental project in all sides, because it's experimental remaking house, experimental keeping story, experimental. It's really born new idea in this place, and in the past coming artists and making own project in when it's spent time with this place, and I guess it's environment for something special. It's not like traditional studio on laboratory or even place. It's something special, something I really building like step for future, and I have pattern how I looks how I will see this place on the 10 years, and but it's most important in this place is community.
yes. And that's why I think it's super interesting that you're documenting it. I mean, like to create the stuffs, like the physical stuffs, like the craft, architecture, or furnitures, whatever, and to create the community is the different like layer, right? And then to document everything is another layer, I think.
Yeah, it's new story. Buildings just now, yeah. And in my case, it's my stage. Then I'm here. It's opening new vision and new place for connection community, for sharing idea, for documentary. And just now I sharing not only for Ukrainian people, I am sharing for all world, and everyone can join to my place and impact something in this project in future.
Sounds really cool. It's like it's a mix of the experiment on site with touching the object materials and communicate with people in person, and to use some technology but carefully to reframe these things happening like surrounding you and surrounding your residents, yeah. And give a story for them. That's super cool.
Yeah. Well, today we have a lot of conversation about old technologies.
Yes.
And about renovative buildings.
Mm-hmm.
But I know you have another way of interesting. I mean, it's temporary buildings.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so yeah, that's also what I wanted to talk with you, because yeah, temporary is, like, for me, it's really huge topic for architectures, from architecture side, and also it's really connected to the political, the way of living, everything. Because like back in the past 2011, we had a huge earthquake in Japan, if somebody knows it. And then there was a tsunami. Do you know tsunami? Yeah, it's like the natural disaster. And then at the time they lost all their houses, furniture, everything. And we also needed to think about temporary living place. But it was not easy, of course. Like there is a time limit, material limit, but of course we want to provide the best environment for the people who are suffering. But it's always kind of the bit like the balance, and I think we're thinking about temporary building is super important. And I don't know, maybe like it's also connected to your situation, because you also accept some people who came from the east of Ukraine, right?
Yeah. It's a really interesting story, and I really exciting you're sharing this idea, but I guess it's needed second
Yeah.
session because it's a lot of information.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, I would love to talk about temporary buildings. It's connected to the design philosophy, but also detail designings and material network. Also, of course, people communication, people network. So yeah, I would love to talk about it. Maybe we can do next time.
Next time, yeah. We have conversation about that, and I guess it's really interesting and important things on the future. Thank you for conversation. Thank you for sharing
Thank you so much.
super intelligent idea for a solution using with old technologies, new technologies, and in general have big attention for natural. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me here as a part of your amazing project.
Yeah.
I hope all best for the next new stage, and yes, let's see together.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well,
It was good.
yeah, I guess good.
And then I didn't eat them.
Eat it, please.
Can I?
Perfect. I'm happy. Then we are recording that, and I guess it's interesting. It's interesting story for my living in Munich in Germany.
I think it's necessary. It's not necessary to that we know the next step, but
Yeah.
it's important that we record it, that we are in a new phase, and then we are thinking about like how we can go to the next.
Yeah. like technical. Oh, I really like it.
I like this. Smells a little bit smoky.
Yeah, because it's really long time making this jam. It's maybe around 20 hours making this jam.
I should have said that. Oh, this smells so smoky.
Yeah.
Oh, but we are still recording, right?
Yeah. of course.
Okay. Can I try this actually?
What?
This jam?
Yeah, of course. It's not fake, it's true.
そういただきます。
You know, it's like old style using that. It's with warm milk.
That would be amazing. This is so good.
I can warm it your milk and take it
Thank
if you
you.
want.
Thank you. I mean, this tastes like so smoky.
Yeah. It's cool. Because it's a lot smoke, a lot warm.
Because you made it outside.
Yeah.
Cool. I would love to see
And
your.
it's good conservation because it's not destroyed. It's without something chemical. It's only natural, but super compact fructose.
When did you make it again? You made it, or your mom made it?
I made it.
You made it
Yeah.
without any sugar?
Yeah. It's only plums. You know, it's like 20 hours. It's every time rotating, and water. It's super compact. Like it's huge plums. I mean, around 15. How to
That's
call it?
so precious.
Yeah, it's super precious. Yeah. It's really good long term saving this gem. Couple years, 5 years, 7
That's
years.
crazy.
Yeah, it's like it's like wine. You know, it's like wine. It's long time or tea. Yeah, wow. You know, China's tea and jam. It's the same like product for height level like price. And I really have some offers restaurant who needed buy my jam, but I have only limit. I mean, it's not like commercial. I'm on when the organization event, I sharing part of jam and something eating, something when come to me some guests. It's like for me, but part of the jam should stay on residence. It's like testing, like
Fungi.
you know, like this test, this smelling should matching with atmosphere residence.
You know, do you know kimchi? It's Korean food. No. Like for Korean food, there is kimchi. For Japanese food,
I don't know what is kimchi, but kimchi stay in my city, like Korean restaurant.
Yeah.
And
and then
I mean,
they use like fermenting system.
oh
Fermenting. Do you know ferment?
yeah,
It's like
meat or what? Fermenting pot.
ferment is it's like a process to make alcohol.
I know process, but what is product fermenting?
Like vegetable.
Vegetable. Okay.
Vegetable in sometimes rice
Oh,
part of rice or
together?
yeah.
Okay.
And then sometimes you have to like mix the everything. Like you have this pot and then you put all the vegetables and some binders and then you put it, you press it, and then you leave it just like couple nights and then you mix it maybe once a day, right? And then the funny thing is, so we have some bacteria or something in our
Working.
hands,
Yeah.
and house also had some bacteria, like there is something, and then the taste and smell of the kimchi and tsukemono will be changed because of the bacteria we have.
Yeah.
So it tastes of the house.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah. I really good understand what is the process because I'm trying local plants making like tea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these plants needed fermentation, and it's like the same product. And I remember my grandmother every time keeping a little bit like cream with bacteria. This bacteria, it's making bread, and
Okay.
it's like it's only every house have own bacteria, and every house have own bread. And you know, it's this occasion. It's super popular bread. Bread,
You mean here
brötchen.
or?
Yeah, in
Okay,
Germany,
yeah.
And like super expensive bakeries, it's working with
Hence?
like some secret recipes. But secrets, it's this bacteria.
Okay. It's always like recipe. Recipe is super important. And when my friends will come to here, they are the people who I worked on, like harvesting rice, making a roofing with rice, making small tiny house on the field. Maybe I told about it to you, right? With Japanese construction, blah blah blah. They did it together with me. So I think they're gonna have really interest in your story. Like if you say you are doing resident in a village, they're gonna be like, "Oh my god, really?" And then they also will love it, the story about this thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess when your friend come to Munich, I can sharing my jam.
Maybe that would be so good.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I think they really love it. I mean, you know, I think they're gonna love it. I'm sure that because we are sharing the same mindset.
Yeah, I come back to plan like for temporary buildings. It's good idea for like realize this prototype in residence or whatever, like because it's portable, you know.
Yeah.
Like everywhere, some only like making architecture site, like for developing parts, and it's possible. I don't know what is my next location, but we can connection and building that. Yeah.
Maybe we can work like remotely together.
Yeah, definitely. And it's really important because I don't think on before about that, but for me, maybe it's like teaser for second part session.
Teaser.
Teaser, yeah. It's
Teaser.
like short video for advertisement for full version about I have a lot things for time in residence. Then in past using some materials and builders trying building for long term, you know, like cement, like wood, stone. It's for long term. And I guess we living in time when it's not important because functionality of buildings changed more quickly than destroyed material.
That's why we want to go to the materials and we want to go to the field. I think.
Yeah, it's really important then if functionality will finish it, we stay like huge garbage, like crash.
Yes.
Yeah, and temporary, it's really cool because you have limit
Yes.
term.
Yeah.
Only for functionality, only for 10 years. Like for situation in Ukraine, yes, it's like solution for 10 years. But after that, it's not make sense. And destroyed stability like buildings, it's really wasting a lot materials and destroyed natural, and it's
I think
we needed new solution.
I think we should think separately the part that we can make it as temporary and permanently.
Yeah.
Like the temporary is super interesting, but also it's complicated because you have to organize how to keep all the materials after demolition and how to design the edge to be able to dismantle at the end, and who will take care of the buildings afterwards, who will demolish it, who will reconstruct it actually, and do we really know someone who really want to use the same system like 10 years ago? No, 10 years later, because 10 years is huge, right? So I mean, temporary is difficult to handle. It's amazing, but it's difficult. So I think we also need somehow the permanent solution. For example, the road, the foundation, and maybe sometimes for really big buildings, some part of the buildings need to be really permanent solution. But if we have a mindset that if needed, we can also make the temporary buildings as a solution, then the world will be completely changed. If you think you have to design the permanent answer, I mean, if it's the really, really good design, everything is, if all the stuffs are perfect design and it's really amazing, then yeah, why not? But we can't. There are a lot of like fast products as well.
Yeah. I can sharing some ideas
Yeah.
about my project when I started renovating these buildings and hiring specialists for builders or architecture and guys
You
saying,
talked with architects.
yeah,
Oh.
and saying about look for my buildings and oh, this building, please hit it's for you, yeah. And saying about oh, it's for roof, yeah. This wood structure, it's so old. I advise for you change it for all. And I thinking on a start, then I really clean understanding that project will finish it. I really I'm ready finish this project. Maybe not me finish it. Maybe who knows. But this project have the end. After 10 years, after 15, 20, but it's really finished. And I don't need these buildings on the after the ending project. And I don't need like super long-term solution and wasting time for not reason like only stay buildings without functionality.
Like, for example, I think in terms of your resident, maybe it's better to do some like big remainting to keep the structure, the body of buildings more in safe.
You mean wall?
Like wall or beams you have in the house. If there is still some materials you can use, then I think it's better to make something to protect the buildings, right?
Yeah.
Right? But you don't need, I think, like in my opinion, you don't need to make super fancy just beautiful architecture on top of the buildings. And yeah, so like the solution, the treatment to protect the building, maybe this will be better to use some like not permanent but good qualities, one that longs like more than 50 years, hopefully. But you don't need to put effort for everything.
Yeah.
You can select where is the most important for keeping this building.
Yeah. It's only for limit terms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the extra part, I think it will be fine with temporary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree.
But like if you were architecture student and there was a building and you need to remove the roof, you have to change the roof. Please change this building amazingly, surprisingly by your super advanced designing skill. Then you try to draw something really like looks gorgeous, right? And something super makes buildings advanced. And then that is one way. I think this is also super cool, but it's only for the project which have enough time, enough money, both.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And like yeah, but I like your project super so much.
Thank you. What is more important you see on my project?
More important.
Yeah.
So the balance, the balance of, for example, I don't say vernacular, but the practice on site and researching and new knowledge that you try to get is really like, I think it makes sense that the way you are doing this is one first point. And second point will be, it's really nice because you are creating the frame, the big frame, and then you are working on the site as well. So it's not separated. It's usually separated. Like someone will create the content and then there are people who are working on it. But then if you have to communicate with them, it's not same with your project, right? Because you're thinking while doing something.
Yeah.
And this jump of thinking, I think it's super, super important. And
Like for sharing idea, not like on my mind and like finding some person who understands this idea.
no, actually, I see 3 layers. First layer, create roof, like maintenance garden, and stay in a garden or make jam, for example, take a picture of flower, like everything happen on the field.
Yeah.
First stage. And
So like make content.
not content, it's more like object. You are touching everything, right?
Yeah.
You touch wood, you touch tool, you touch wall, you touch roof,
Yeah.
you touch plants, everything. It's the first stage. And the second layer is you think about that these all small works.
It's like I I needed make flag here on stage. The first stage is discover, yeah. Discover area, discover all, like physical,
Yeah.
and visual, yeah, feelings,
Yeah, that's true. Discovering
yeah,
and analyzing.
like filtering maybe, yeah. It's like
Yeah, analyzing, filtering. And then third layer is documenting, I think. Sharing.
Of course, yeah. Sharing is good. Yeah.
I mean,
3 steps.
3 steps, and
Because it's the final, it's result, it's methodology. Yeah, it's like it's science. Yeah, whatever something is like discovering, filtering, sharing. It's methodology.
yeah,
For
it's
get
methodology.
something new. Yeah.
Methodology. I mean, it's maybe it's but when it comes to the big project, it's difficult to do all of these 3 methodologies by only one person.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. And now you are doing that, right? So those consistency, do you know consistency? Is really, 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 really important.
Yeah.
And you also have like a lot of framing for the way of sharing, like escaping residence, how to live close to nature, meditation. I don't know, but you have a lot of categories, right? Framing.
Yeah, it's sometimes it have too much, a lot categories, and it's really should including like this is main line, this is later.
But I mean, it's nice to have a lot of thoughts, and if you could combine it, then it will be like more element, more perspective, more
Yeah.
factors.